Hello everybody, this is Gareth Cahoon Speaks back here with another video. I'd like you to hit the subscribe bar, give me a thumbs up if you like the video, or hit the notification bell to be notified when I post my next post. Or if you'd like to donate to my ministry and the charities that I give to, you can do so at garethcahoon3@gmail.com on PayPal. This one here is, I just would like to let you know that I'm a Protestant by faith, even though the father of the Protestant religion turned anti-Semitic in his last days, writing the most anti-Semitic document that there has ever been. I am Protestant by faith because I don't believe in the Catholic Church as a religion, because of the idol worship, worshipping saints, worshipping Mary, being pro LGBTQIA, being pro interfaith, one world religion type thing. But this one takes the biscuit. The Pope's lie. How a debunked story about a dead child became Vatican anti-Israel propaganda. The Pope's lie has how a debunked story about a dead child became Vatican anti-Israel propaganda. In the return flight from Equatorial Guinea last Thursday, Pope Leo XVI reached into his pocket and pulled out a photograph. He told the journalists gathered around him that it was a picture of a Muslim Lebanese boy, a child who had held a welcome Pope Leo sign during his visit to Lebanon last November and who had since been killed in the war. I carry with me a photograph of a Muslim child, the pontiff said solemnly. He has been killed in the final phase of the war. There are many human situations. I think we must be able to think in these terms. The problem is the boy in the photograph is well and alive. Grok, the AI platform built by Elon Musk's XAI, posted the correction bluntly on X. The specific boy who held the welcome photo Pope Leo signed during the Pope's Lebanon visit is alive and well. The Middle East Observer account initially reported his death, but quickly corrected it. It was a lookalike Scout colleague, Jawad al-Ahmed, who was killed in the rubble. The Pope appears to have been given mistaken info on the identity. The Vatican has offered no correction, no apology, and no retraction. Pope Leo's performance on the plane, emotionally wailed in the photograph he has apparently never verified, was part of a pattern from his first Sunday address as Pope. Just 3 days after his election in May 2025, Leo declared, "I'm deeply pained by what is happening in the Gaza Strip," and called for an immediate ceasefire. The hostages being held by Hamas terrorists, Israeli men, women and children, abducted on October 7th, received a secondary mention. The moral equation was set from day one. By August 2025, Pope Leo was demanding that Israel stop what he called collective punishment and the forced displacement of Palestinians in Gaza, pleading for a permanent ceasefire as Israel prepared a new military offensive. He did not describe what Hamas did to the hostages still held beneath the rubble of Gaza. He did not name the terrorists. He named Israel. Nick Matu, a non-Jewish social media Israeli advocate with over 50,000 TikTok followers, confronted the pattern held on in a Facebook video. Responding to the Pope's airplane remarks, "Pope, I wonder how many pictures of Christians do you have in your pockets? Pictures of them who have been tortured and slaughtered by Islamist terrorists." Matu said, "I am not a Christian, Jewish or Muslim, but I do believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac and Jacob. But you're the Pope, and while you're doing this humiliation tour of going to mosques and taking your shoes off, I'm just curious about when you will make a comment on Christians who have been slaughtered right now." Pope Leo's predecessor Francis set the template in November 2024. Francis declared in a book of published interviews that what is happening in Gaza has characteristics of a genocide and called for a formal international investigation. Israel's ambassador to the Vatican, Yaron Seidman, responded directly. There was a genocidal massacre on October 7, 2023, of Israeli citizens, and since then Israel has exercised its right of self-defense against attempts from 7 different fronts to kill its citizens. Any attempts to call it by any other name is singling out the Jewish state. The Combat Anti-Semitism movement called France's words a possible opening of an 8th front against Israel, warning they can also lead to the splitting of Jewish blood around the spilling of Jewish blood around the world. Then came the nativity scene in December 2024. Pope Francis inaugurated a seasonal display in the Vatican. Paul IV Hall, presented by Palestinian officials, that featured a baby Jesus lying on a kifa, the traditional Palestinian national scarf. B'nai B'rith International described feeling disturbed by the display, stating it isn't just politicization but revisionism. It presents only Palestinians as innocent victims and Jesus as a Palestinian and not a Jew. The Vatican removed the scene quietly after the backlash without comment. Israel Minister Amihai Chikli wrote an open letter to the Pope pointing out the historical reality. It is a well-known fact that Yeshua Jesus was born of a Jewish mother, lived a Jew and died as a Jew. Chikli's letter also noted something that cuts deeper than any single incident. The Vatican's silence during those dark days of the Shoah is still deafening. The silence then and this noise now form two sides of the same coin. When Jewish blood was being spilled by the millions across Europe, the Vatican spoke carefully and quietly. Today, when Israel defends itself against Hamas terrorists, the same organisation whose founding charter calls for killing of Jews, the Vatican speaks loudly, emotionally, and as we have now seen, without verifying its facts. The sages of the Talmud and the Shabbat 55a state that emet, truth, is a seal of the holy ones. A religious leader who trades in unverified stories to condemn one nation while staying silent about the atrocities committed against that nation's people has chosen something other than emet. He has chosen the narrative. Pope Leo stood on an airplane and told the world that a child was dead, the child is alive. The Pope has not corrected himself, but the patterns stenching from France's Kifa draped manger to genocide accusations to Leo's unverified photograph corrects itself with a brutal clarity. The Vatican is not a neutral voice crying for peace. It is a megaphone aimed in one direction, and the Jewish state is always in its crosshairs. And it always has been, from the Crusades to the Constantine's anti-Semitism and mixing Christianity with pagan beliefs, and also recent popes, including Pope Francis, often this the Pope Leo has just celebrated Nostra Aetate, highlighting interfaith unity in a divided world, reaffirming opposition to religious hatred, encouraging ongoing peace building between religions. This is another idol in the Catholic Church because the Bible speaks of fighting against a one world religion that will be brought in by the Antichrist and the false prophet at the end of times. And I think the current Pope is setting himself up to be one of the two. Shalom, Maranatha, and Hallelujah.